Hey everyone watching this. So the kind of surprise about this one, which I think is super exciting for me, is that I actually have the opportunity in recording this at Agama, which is super cool because before coming to this island I had the idea of doing one of these meditations at the school somehow in one of the halls, but I had no idea how I was going to do it. So it turns out that the last weekend here for me, there's a festival going on called the Goddess Festival, and during one of the meetings it was brought up that we'd have an opportunity to do a workshop, and it'd be completely free for me to do, it'd be free for people to come. So I actually got to manifest one of my dreams in using one of their halls to teach this workshop. So yeah! So I'm really excited for you guys to do it. Thank you again for believing in me and following this meditation and contributing to my dream, because it's huge. I mean, I got to spend the last 2 months on this amazing island, do these 2 workshops, share it with all of you, and I get to come back and share more. And I'm super grateful and super thankful. So again, thank you all so much, and I'm so excited to see you guys in the next few days. I come back on Thursday night, so I'll be back on the weekend, and apparently there's a nice little gathering at my house, so you guys are all definitely welcome to come come hang out and see my return. So enjoy the workshop. Have a wonderful, wonderful day connecting to your heart. Thank you. I'll see you later. Awesome. So, now welcome everybody. First of all, thank you all for coming and wanting to have this experience with me. This is a pretty special event for me because I'm actually also filming this for a group that I have back home. I've been doing Future Life Progression for just over a year now, and so while gone I still wanted to be able to share it with them. So with thankfulness to technology, I get to film this and then make it as a YouTube video and then share it with them as well. So for you guys here, I'd like to do just a bit of an introduction on what Future Life Progression is and what we're going to be going into and what we're going to explore today. So I've studied a lot of philosophy, and one of the philosophers that I came about, his name is Derek Parfit, and he talks about the continuity of the self through a collection of memories and a build-up of personality traits and behaviors from what we know of ourselves through the past. So from our recollection of our first moments as an infant or a child to now. And so he believes that we build our identity based on this collection of past moments. And for me personally, that's something I could not agree with. I didn't think it made sense that our evolution of our being is solely based on just names and memories of our past. And from being a yogi and from kind of being analytical and scientific in my approach to this process of evolution, I considered the possibility of the continuity of ourself actually coming from versions of ourself that exist already in the future, or that exist energetically beyond our scope of awareness right now. And that what we're doing is we're drawing ourselves forward to evolve into that state. And those versions are actually communicating with us intuitively and energetically and helping us evolve into that state. Not only in this life and day-to-day and week-to-week, month-to-month, year-to-year, but also beyond that, energetically into like light beings or into oneness or source. What we're going to play with today is nothing too beyond that. It's still going to be within the kind of confines of the life, because we can really benefit on having something to relate to, right? So what I did then was take the idea of past life regression and completely reversed it to future life regression. So instead of looking into the past to try to figure out who we are, we actually contact the version of ourselves that knows who they are because of wisdom and because of knowledge and experience, right? It'd be like our child self right now doing a meditation and getting in contact with us right now, and us right now being like, wow, this is great, here's some cool things that I've done. However, the child only being able to pick that up energetically. So instead of us being able to tell the whole scope of our story of like 20 to 30 years, we send a package of information that is energetic and encoded with excitement and love and compassion and care, right? So for me personally, it's really been a great benefit to do this kind of work, and it's led me into opportunities and into experiences that I just couldn't imagine. Yet following that energy intuitively and following it instinctually is what naturally was able to allow me to even come here, right? To say yes to work opportunities and say yes to meeting certain people, saying no to certain things as well. Some events I'm like, no, that's not going to help me, and then seeing how it benefited me, right? So having the balance of both, right? Where we know intuitively that some things are going to work for us, and some things aren't. Hopefully that's making sense so far. Yes. So what I've been doing in conjunction with this like future life regression work and contacting a future self, creating that communication, that line of dialogue, is bringing in the work with the chakras. And what I've done starting in January is I started with working with Muladhara, then Svadhisthana, then Manipura. However, accessing them from the level of the heart. So instead of using it from the level of the brain or the mind and trying to focus in on each individual chakra and focusing on the yantra and doing the bija or doing asana, that first coming into the heart and settling into a space and creating a space of openness and unconditional love, then to access the chakra and seeing what the difference is and just playing with it. So this meditation leads up into Anahata Chakra. So what the theme of this one is the relationship between the actual physical heart and the chakra itself. Because there is a bit of a difference. And leading up to this, what I've been contemplating and intuiting is that in order to create the kind of channel that you want, to receive guidance intuitively from this kind of higher source or from yourself, is that you want to use the heart as a tool for the heart chakra to open and then to travel through to then create that connection, right? It's just like if you're trying to send an email, but you're not using a computer. You have to use a computer in order to send an email. You can't be like, email, send, like it's not going to work. You need a tool to get into the database, to get into the software, to get into the way that you can actually send the email to the person that you want and they receive it. Another analogy that I thought today, it's working with imagination as well, right? We are actively imagining who our future self is as well. It takes some kind of mental work and some kind of mental focus, right? Because even the version that we are now, we did that when we were kids. Even if we weren't really aware of it, how we are now is based on the imagination that we had as kids, dreaming up things that we wanted to do, right? And throwing ourselves all over the place. I wanted to be a dancer, I wanted to be a firefighter, I wanted to be this, I wanted to be that, right? That was us using our imagination and seeing the scope of the ability of what it means to create. And so, it's like an artist wanting to paint, right? It needs a tool in order for that creativity and that imagination to come through. If you don't have the brush, you don't have a tool in order to actually express the colors that you want to express, you're not going to get the results that you want. You're not going to get the kind of expression that you want. So I was seeing that the relationship between the heart and the chakra is that the heart is actually the tool to guide into the chakra to have that expression. And so that's what we'll be working with, that's on the board. So within the meditation, we're going to use that symbol as the gateway into accessing that communication with our future self. And the cool thing about it is whichever one comes up will come up, right? There's really no like concrete limitation. It's not like we're going, okay, now our 10-year version, right? Because some of you, it might not be relevant, you know? It'll come up based on what is necessary for you and what part of your future self, your higher self wants to contact you, right? Because they're doing the same thing. The synchronicity is that what you guys do today, in 10, 20, 30 years, yourself will be able to do it easily, right? It's just like any thing that we do, right? When we start something new and we work at it, 10 years, 20 years down the road, it's second nature to us. So think of any skill, right? Even yoga, right? You start super tense, super inflexible, and you barely touch your toes. And when you work at it, a year goes by, 2 years go by, and all of a sudden you can do crazy back bends and handstands and all these things. And you're like, oh, it's not even a question anymore, right? You don't have a frame of reference for that version of yourself that wasn't that flexible. It's just normal now. It's just all the things that you can do. It's totally ingrained in your system. So what I like about this kind of meditation is you don't have to do it every day. It's not something that is mandatory. What I found for myself is that it comes about through my meditation. So I will sit down to meditate. And there's just some days where all of a sudden I'll start getting a dialogue, and I'll start getting and receiving something from a future version, and it'll show me things. It'll be like, if you make this decision, you can't make this decision. If you make this decision, it'll change everything else in your world this way, right? So for example, one of the biggest things for my life was a split between being a yoga teacher, running my own construction company, operating a not-for-profit organization, and all the friends that are involved with that, or continuing going to university. It was huge because I wanted to continue all of that. And this version of myself was like, no, you pick this or that. You pick the university, all of this is gone because now you have to spend 18 hours a day for 3 years, and you won't have time for any of that. Or you continue doing this, you keep all your friends, you keep what your excitement is, you get to do more yoga and travel more, you get to work on this amazing organization and not-for-profit building with him. And it told me, don't go to university. It literally was like, don't do that, just stick to this, you'll be much more excited. And I think I would have to agree. And that's for me personally, right? Like in this, I can't recommend for anyone to make a decision. You know, like that was an example for me personally. And it's for you to look at what is happening in your life and how you're being guided. Because what starts to change is when you're coming from this level and operating from your heart, is suddenly you don't have control anymore. And it's the weirdest feeling because we're so used to thinking that our day-to-day decisions are based on our control. And so when you really think about that, it's not the physical self that has control, it's life itself that's coming through that has control, always. We think just because we have so much attachment to the physical body and that we get to move it, that the decisions that we make through it are the actual control of the body, when really the earth has control of the body always. This is a mechanism of the earth. And it's decided to be here, right? It's decided to have 7 billion people. So when you start to really connect to that with your heart, and you start to see, wow, all of my movements and all of the direction that's going is actually a property of the earth that it's feeding life into. And then that life current is where consciousness spirals with and gets to experience what this physical reality is. And where I found is really allowing myself to surrender into that and really allowing myself to ride that wave is through the heart. If I'm not connecting with the heart, then it's a really polarized view of it. It's a really black and white, this or that kind of scenario. So then that's the importance of the heart, and it's like the actual physical thing, like placing your focus on this organ that has been operating all your life without your say, right? Like, I have a say if I want a bug on me, right? I think I have control of that. No. But I don't have a say why my heart started and when my heart stops. And that's, for me, a really important thing to understand and to surrender into, that then the energy of the heart and what it's doing is very intelligent, and it's very powerful, and it draws a line through an immense lineage, through parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, and the whole continuation. So then I ask myself, okay, what wanted that continuation, right? And the answer simply is life itself and the ability to love. So I believe that's where transformation comes out of. Because you're seeing something quite possibly that your family might not have seen, right? Because if the typical understanding of life is to survive and to fulfill your base requirements of your physical body, eating, shelter, safety, pleasure, entertainment, when you start to understand the intelligence of the heart and the power of the heart, you start to change all of those patterns. And you start to alter and transform the life current that went through this generation of your entire family, and even before that, to people who you don't even know, thousands of years ago, that leads up to this point right now in this body. And the opportunity to take that energy and to spiral it, and to direct it into centers and into awareness that no other part of the generation had the opportunity to. Then it comes to the heart chakra itself, and having awareness of dropping into the heart and using the focus to direct it into that. And this is what we're going to do through the guided meditation. So it'll be visual to help with making it relatable, because I think if it's just purely energetic, it's too abstract and it's a little challenging. But when we have things there that are comforting and we can relate to, then it's easier to create more lucidity. And that's really the point in all this is to go into a space that we can drop into and create more lucidity, so when we do open up that channel to communicate with our future self or our higher self, there isn't anything that really hinders us, right? And yeah. Any questions, insights, anything? More than welcome to speak up.
Do you say that if we channel this energy, if we make this up with the awareness and the talk,
Yeah.
this will also change the dynamic of our parents?
It's not that you're changing the line of it, it's just that there's now a point where it starts to transform itself. So the line itself is always going to be its line, right? It's just that we're making a conscious decision to, say, add more energy to it. And then it's from there that it goes in a direction that we will feel is more harmonious, that we feel is altered in a way that meets what our level of integration is. So then, because of that, there's a deeper appreciation for that line. Because then it was geared towards that. That it led naturally to this point where, through your family history, you get to make that decision, right? You're not just another one of it that kind of strolls along and has to be in the slow progression, right? That all of a sudden, there's this beam of light that enters and goes, up, now I'm going to go up this way, right? And the way that will be indicated is, ironically, a lacking acceptance of this newer version of you. So all of a sudden, maybe siblings and parents are going to be like, whoa, you're weird, you know, like, what happened, right? And then you don't get it, because you're like, well, this is normal for me, though, like, right? So when you can honor that it was set up for you to get to this point, then it's easier for people in your lives to accept it. Because then you're not coming from a place where they have to do that now, because that's not in their karma, right? I like to think that why we have children is so that they can be greater than us. It's not so that we keep them where we are and they have to do what we do. It's just that so that there's an evolution, right? So it's like, here's my knowledge that I can give you. Do with it what you will, and do greater things, right? So,
I don't quite understand what's this got to do with my family though. Like you brought in this connection
yeah.
of my own evolution connected with my family, and so I'm a bit confused about that.
So, it's the physical thing. So it's the evolution that took place to get your body here, right? And so the mentality that was with the body and with the family to allow the family to survive, right? So all the decisions that went to get you to where you were, get to where your parents were, to decide to have you and to have the upbringing that you were in. So all those decisions are based on a progression. And that progression naturally leads us, like where we are, to then make a decision about a spiritual progress that we want, right? That is there within the generations, but maybe not so consciously.
So you're just sort of keen into this idea of progression from, like, you know, past lives to the whole progression.
Yeah.
Way back beyond and way
Yeah.
back in the future, or way into the future.
Yeah, exactly. And that way we can see that it's an ongoing thing, and that won't actually ever end. And so when we know that, then we can prepare ourselves for the evolution that's occurring. And we can naturally, simultaneously narrow in and expand. And that may seem a little bit weird at first, but I think it'll make sense in the meditation. So, yeah, I think, what else can I go into? So the way that I see the chakras are portals. And so they work on how you establish a belief system around it. Because really, they're intangible. Like, we can't present to each other the heart chakra. I can't be like, oh, here's my heart chakra. This is what my color chakra looks like. What does your look like? We can't actually present those things. So they're constructs, right? And through our imagination, for ourselves, we can increase the potency of that construct for ourselves, right? And so when you interact with someone that's done the work and has connected into their heart in the way and used the heart chakra as a catalyst for deepening into their connection with their heart, it's not that you're actually feeling their heart chakra when you interact with them, you're feeling the potency of how they can actually connect with their body fully and energetically. Because this thing is a powerhouse of energy, right? And so what determines its usage is us and how we want to channel through it, either solely physically and doing a lot of arduous tasks and being really physical, or being mental and emotional and spiritual. So we'll get a sense of a person based on these kind of characteristics. And so it's not actually just the chakra itself. We're building on qualities of our psychological states and our behaviors through these kind of belief systems. If I want to have more vitality and I want to be more Muladhara, then I work on my physical body, right? And we know that through yoga. Then I'm going to do more physical things, I'm going to eat more, I'm going to build my body up more, so then I have more physical energy to go and work for 8 hours and then come back and eat a heavy meal and then go and work out for 2 hours and have the energy to do it, right? If I want to be more Ajna and more Vishuddha, then I'm not going to want to be so heavy. I'm not going to want to be so physical and dense because I want to have more brain activity. I want to be able to solve mathematical problems. I want to be able to create scientific theories to work on. I want to be able to have intelligent conversations and go more in depth about relationships, about energy, about even the physical body, right, anatomy. So what I feel is special about the heart, though, is it's the only organ that is perpetual and it works wholly. In that, it's not compartmentalized, right? The brain is compartmentalized. If I want to think about food, one part of my brain goes off. If I need to go to the bathroom, one part of my brain goes off. However, the heart is the one thing that can make the whole brain go off. So when we channel into our heart with our focus and with our concentration, we can actually utilize our entire brain. And there's a synchronization that occurs between all the hemispheres. So if we're just basing the function of ourselves on irregular heartbeats and irregular breathing, it separates our brain into 2 quadrants and into 4 quadrants. As soon as we go into regulated breathing, conscious breathing, focusing on the heart, all of a sudden it syncs all those up. And this is actually like proven. Like there's countless research articles and scientific discoveries showing that meditation in this way and controlled breathing and connecting it to the heart actually synchronizes the brain to produce alpha waves. Alpha and gamma. And this is what is then creating a conscious field around us and perpetuating, circulating it, rather than creating static brainwaves. So that might be a little bit over everyone's heads, or totally understandable. That's okay. So the key point here is that if we want to go deeper into knowing ourselves, especially through the heart, and we want to work with the Anahata Chakra, we want to first go into our heart. So just visualizing the chakra isn't enough. We want to first go into the heart. And really what it feels like to close your eyes and to relax and to look down and to really feel this area. And feel what it feels like for the heart to beat. Feels what it feels like to have any tension around the heart. And to use the breath in a rhythmic way to relax that tension and to open up that center. And then allowing the heart to operate the brain, rather than the brain operating the heart. And seeing how much easier it is actually to visualize from that. So instead of like you're just trying to force one part of your brain, like the logic part, to like construct this thing, you just surrender into the heart and you say, okay, you do it. And then all of a sudden it uses the whole brain. And then that symbol is much more vibrant. And we'll see when we go through the actual meditation. Any more questions? Any from the new people that joined? No? Okay. So, yeah, we can go right into it. So, coming into a comfortable seated position. The meditations aren't too long. It's not like we're going to be here for 45 minutes and I'm just yammering on. They're short but precise. And after the meditation, you'll get some time to write if you have something to write on. If not, don't worry. At the very end of these meditations, we're going to go into little groups and we're going to talk to each other. So I find it's really helpful, instead of like just one person at a time doing it, when we're in little tiny groups, it's a little more personal, it's a little more safe to express what you went through. So coming into a seated position and closing your eyes. Do a little exercise, ground ourselves in, build a little bit of focus and awareness. So it's a simple exercise of counting down from 27 until you reach 0. What we're going to do is inhale and say to yourself internally, I'm aware I'm inhaling. Exhale, I'm aware that I'm exhaling. 27. Aware that I'm inhaling, aware that I'm exhaling, 26. So on, continuing. If you find that you lose track at any time, simply and calmly come back to 27 and start again. sensations in the center of the forehead, increased focus and concentration, yet calmness and relaxation. With your eyes closed, I'd like you to imagine you have a second pair of eyelids. Peering into the darkness of your mind, what I would like you to do is close these internal second eyelids as you watch the internal world become darker and darker. From this point, I'd like you to bring awareness to the level of your eyes and center of your forehead. And that you feel that you're gazing outwards from this point. Do, taking a nice deep inhale, and with your exhale, feeling like that gaze is starting to lower down to the level of the cheekbones. Now you feel that you're peering and gazing outwards to the level of your cheeks and your nose. Feeling what it's like to take in the air from your nostrils, what your cheeks feel like. Take another inhale here, and on the exhale, feeling the gaze lower down to the mouth and the chin. Feeling like you were gazing outwards from the level of the mouth. Feeling what it's like on the inside of the mouth. Feeling the texture of the tongue, the teeth. Taking another inhale here. And exhaling, lowering the gaze down to the level of the throat. As if you're peering out from the center of your throat. Feeling what it's like to have the cool air come down your esophagus and the breath rise out from the esophagus. Taking one more inhale here. And exhaling, lowering the gaze down to the level of the heart. Really feeling each beat of the heart as if you're gazing from the center of your chest outwards. Feeling what it's like when you inhale, and there's that gentle hug of the lungs with the heart. And as you exhale, creating space for the heart to beat. Spending time in this place. like you to imagine is within this space of the heart, you start to visualize a screen appearing and opening up in front of you. And what this screen shows is a cave. And as it opens up in front of you, you find that you are merging into this cave. And now, fully within this cave, I would like you to look down at your feet, just to see what your feet look like. Take a look at your arms. Start to create more lucidity within this space. Take a look around, what you start to see naturally. What do the walls look like? How is the cave lit up? Are there any objects that you can perceive? I want you to imagine and visualize straight across from you, a door appears on the cave wall. I would like you to approach this door, just admire its shape and size, color, and texture. Really observe the quality of this door. In the center of this door, you notice the six-pointed star, the circle around it. Immediately, you start to get the feeling to enter this door. However, I would like you to hold this feeling. Notice that the urge is there and that there's something calling you behind this door. Feel the excitement, feel the curiosity, and let it bubble within your heart, knowing that there will be a right time to explore the world behind this door. Knowing that you might need to step back from the door as you watch the cave start to grow smaller and smaller, reverting back to the screen, back into the darkness at the level of the heart. With an inhale, draw your focus up to the level of the throat. Exhale, relax. Inhaling, drawing your focus up towards the mouth. Exhale, relax. Finally, inhaling, drawing your focus back opening the second eyelids. And when you're ready, slowly come back, bring any movement to your body, gently opening your eyes. Just give some time to do some writing. Most of you would like to this is just simply to jot down what your experience is like. And to be simple, I saw this, I didn't see that, he explained this, I didn't get it. Maybe whatever you like. So if you're still writing, you can still continue jotting stuff down. I'll just continue on here. I'm just going to talk into the camera for a second. There's going to be other people on the other side watching. So for those of you who are still writing, you can just pause this part and continue it whenever you like, so you have the control to do that. Otherwise, I'm going to go on and talk to present people that are in front of me. So with that experience of feeling like we're really going into the heart, and like that our gaze is coming down, like we're actually, like you can get to that point where you can look up and you can look up your spine and you can see that you're looking up at your head, and that's what we want to achieve. I don't assume that that was the case for everyone, but we want to be able to get to the point where we can actually feel it like we're being pulled magnetically into our heart, and that really where our perception is coming from and where our consciousness is coming from is from that level. And because we're so used to identifying with our face, right? Like when we greet people and when we're introducing ourselves, we're coming from here. We're saying like, this is who we are. And so to be able to come from the heart is really to introduce ourselves from the heart and to feel like we're speaking from the heart and we're addressing from that place. And we'll see even what our intentions are from doing that, right? Like all of a sudden, our whole demeanor changes. At least that's what I feel in my experience. That even though words are coming out of my mouth, what is actually drawing forth that communication is from my focus on my heart. That I'm actively, even right now, I'm internally looking down at my heart. And I'm doing it as much as possible so it becomes really, really normal. And that's even the same with conscious breathing, right? Where even though I'm expressing myself, I'm taking the time to and allowing myself to connect to my breath as much as possible. And that's going to change the way that my whole body works and the way that my whole brain functions, just from something as simple as that. So really, in order to go deeper and deeper into these centers, we want to prepare ourselves. Because if we don't have the preparation, it's going to be really shocking. It's just really like anything in our lives, right? If I want to be able to stand right here and do a backflip, I'm probably going to smoke the back of my head on the ground because I can't do that, right? I haven't done the necessary preparation to be comfortable in doing something like that. So it's just like connecting with the heart. If we want to be able to connect with the heart, speak from the heart, and go deeper into it, there are preparations that we want to take in order to do that more comfortably. Because I know in my experience, when I go into my heart sometimes, I get really emotional. And stuff starts coming up and I start crying. And that's a natural side effect of showing that you're accessing stuff that the brain doesn't want to, right? It just wants its fulfillment of, oh, I'm hungry now. Oh, I want to go see this movie. Oh, I want to go talk to this person. Oh, I'm alone, so I don't want to deal with these things, so I'm going to watch Netflix for 5 hours, right? But the heart wants to deal with everything. As soon as you go into it, it's like, oh, finally, here's this, and this. Remember this when you were 5 years old? Remember this when you were 13? And you're like, ugh. But then surrender and You go, yeah, okay, I do remember that. Thank you for telling me that, because it wants you to go deeper. So, for the next meditation, in seeing that symbol, and that's why we see it and we don't go into it. Because the way that guided meditation works is it works with the subconscious in a way that you will start wanting to do what I'm about to tell you. It's actually the trippiest thing. Like, there's one guided meditation that I did with a man named Daryl Anka, and he takes you through a forest. And you'll say, okay, imagine a forest that you normally would go to or normally see in your life. And picture what the day is like. Yeah, okay, it's sunny, it's nice out, coniferous trees. And he's like, okay, now you see a bridge, now you see a book, now you see a cup, now you get to a body of water. And then right before he even mentioned the next stage, I was already coming up into an opening in a meadow and seeing a giant pyramid. And he's like, now you're going to come to a meadow and see a structure. So we're already becoming perceptive at that point of what the guided meditation is going to be. So that's why I set it up so that you see the door and you see the symbol and you feel the urge to go through. And then to kind of stop yourself and to feel it and to start allowing yourself to notice, okay, what is behind that door? And so then we go into the next part of actually going into that door and exploring what's there. And in this case, there'll be more freedom. It's like you'll get to explore, and basically the only guidance is you contact the future version, right? And then having that time and that space to actually do that. What's the name of the person that you will come in contact with?
No, the forest meditation.
Oh, Daryl Anka. So, DARRYLANKA. And he is known for channeling his higher self named Bashar. So, BASHAR. And it's absolutely fantastic. I've come across many channelers and done a lot of research, and he has been the most legit. Like, it's shocking at first because it's so different. You hear Daryl Anka's voice and his demeanor and how he is, and then you see Bashar and you're like, they're totally different people. And Bashar is on point with everything. Like, he answers every question to the fullest, no matter what. Like, unless there's things like, oh, what's going to happen in 2020 on the Earth, then it's like it's too unveiling. So he'll just say there's going to be some changes. But when it has to do with belief systems and inner work, you can ask him about anything, and it's just, yeah, look up YouTube videos. He's been a huge spiritual teacher for me for at least like 7 years of my development and really studying how he does things. So. Yeah, so the importance here in this meditation is what you do in your daily life to start emulating that connection. So what you do to focus in on the heart and see what it takes to communicate from that level. And what kind of thoughts come up, right? And it might be surprising. To me, it's been incredibly beneficial. Sometimes synchronicities come up to act that way in the most challenging experience. Like, almost like earth-shattering, where normally you would result in acting in a pattern or a tendency that is comfortable to act in. But then when you go into your heart goes, make this decision. And you're like, oh my God, I think I can do that, right? So especially when it comes to friends and relationships. I think that's one of the hardest things, because in relationships we're dealing so close with love that when we forget to connect to our hearts and a challenge comes up, it's pulling us into our hearts, and yet we want to act on the tendency, the pattern of seeing that person for who they were, not for who they are. And that's usually where I think the disconnect is going to happen, because we're always changing, we're always evolving in ourselves. And so the heart is what's going to allow us to see that person for who they are in that present moment, and to accept the challenges, or they accept the decisions that they're making and what they want to do in their lives. But if we're disconnecting from our heart and we're conjuring up an image of who they were and we're trying to overlap them with who they are, they're not going to like that. None of us are going to like that, right? I think that's why we have disagreements to begin with, right? Especially with family. When we're making these changes, we're going to these crazy places and doing yoga every day and making these changes, and we go back, and your family's like, you've changed, and it's like, well, actually, that's a good thing, but they're only seeing who they know they want to see. That person, that child, and that brother or sister, who they knew from the past, and then all of a sudden they see this totally different person. So, although the challenges are there, we are creating them fully. Every challenge that we come across, we created that challenge. So it's up to us to face it. And it's up to us to be excited to face it. Even though we may have forgotten the decisions that led up to that challenge, or that synchronicity, or that experience, the universe does not forget. And it goes, here you go. 5 years ago, you made these decisions. And here's this experience. And then we go, but I don't want that right now. It's like, yeah, well, you're going to have to face it. And go through it and see what kind of evolution comes. And for me, it's really inspiring and motivating how important surrender becomes. And yeah. Any questions? Anyone would like to share? Okay.
I'm trying to explain my English is not very good.
Yeah.
So the struggles we have when we are babies or very small are the decisions of our family, reflections of the decisions of our family, or a past life. Like, because we don't imagine when we are babies.
Yeah. Yeah, so I would say it's somewhat of a combination of the two. So I think the impressions that your family puts onto you as a child is a consequence, not like a negative consequence, but is a consequence from the transition of your past life to this life. That there are things set up for you to just naturally experience. And so the parents are going to be the catalyst for those learning lessons to develop. And so then personally, it's going to be up to you to see out of those impressions what serve you still and what don't, right? And the way that you can decide that or discern that is just look at how your parents live, right? You see their life and you see how they interact with each other, you see how they interact with you, and if you have any brothers and sisters and other people around, you can see if the belief systems that come out of that are what you want in your life. So when they watch TV or they watch the news, how do they react? You know, when you tell them about your life and how you're living, how do they react? When they stub their toe, how do they react? When they talk to each other, how do they act, right? And then you'll start to see what kind of influence and what kind of behaviors and personality traits they've been putting on you. And then you can decide for yourself, oh, I don't want to be so angry, right? I don't want to be so passive. I want to be more energetic, you know, like, I don't want to be hateful. I want to be loving, but I don't want to be complacent, you know, like, I don't want to give up my self-love and just give to everyone else, and then I live this shallow life, right? So that was something that I did that was really helpful for me. I started really observing my parents. I'm like, they made me, so I'm a product of them. So there's a lot of stuff that they put in me. So what's the stuff that they put in me? And then you just pick out, you do pruning, right? Just like you want to clean your garden. You want to pick out the weeds and make room for your tomato plants, right? Something that's going to feed you and bring you health and not just be a burden to you. And love them fully for everything that they've done. Because that is super important for letting go of those tendencies, right? Because we can look at those things and we can become super bitter and resentful and try to yank those things out, but that's just going to bury them deeper, right? So when we can see that they raised us the best that they could, and if they could have done better, they could have, then that's an evolution within ourselves, right? Then they did their job. If we can realize that, they did their job. And when you actually approach them from that point and show them the appreciation, they'll actually accept you more. They'll be like, oh, then what you're doing is actually great, right? And there won't be this resistance or hesitancy or disconnection because, you know, you're a hippie or something, right? Like, I like to tell people, I'm not a hippie, I'm a yogi. There's a difference. I take care of myself. So, and that's the beautiful thing about that heart connection then, is the amount and the clear healing that takes place. Not only for yourself, but then for your family and then for others around you. And just like the preparation that we're going and doing here with connecting to our hearts, if we really want to have an effect on the world, there are preparations that are taken to gather more and more people and to have a larger audience and for them to trust you, right? Because it's easy to put a name to being a healer, but it's not that easy to actually have people trust you, right? Because they want to have the transmission, they want to see that it's authentic, right? If I'm just up here and I'm doing this, but I'm charging 10,000 baht for each one of you to be here, is that authentic? Right? Is there going to be trust? Most of the time, people are going to come out and be like, why did I do that? Right? So, the way, for me, that I know that the connections are authentic is coming from the heart and really feeling it. Right? So, hopefully y'all can feel it. Okay. Any more questions or insights?
And just talking about your future self or your higher self and connecting with that, it makes me think about like angels and guides and a whole lot of other astral stuff. So when you're connecting to the heart, like, aren't you connecting with multiple beings of consciousness? Or?
Yeah, so I feel that's going to be determined based on personal effort. So, set yourself up to experience that, right? So if what you've done in your life with introducing yourself to a spiritual experience and a spiritual world, naturally there are going to be things that come into your life to direct you into that experience. So if it is angels and it is saints and it is these beings, your excitement is going to determine how you experience those things. Like for me, I really got into aliens, right? Like I really got into UFOs and stuff like that. So my experiences led to encounters with like other beings like that. So then it started to shift, and I started to focus more on yoga, and I started to like work with Yogananda, right? So then my experiences, the more and more I got into that, all of a sudden I started having dreams about interacting with yogis and having outer body experiences, seeing these beings. So it's going to be dependent on personally what you're wanting, right? So by all means, like when we get into this next stage, that's why I keep it free in the next part. So you get to experience what you want. If what you're aligning with is like, okay, I want to see like Saint Germain, right? And you really feel that resonance, that's the perfect time to do that, right? Because you're really allowing yourself to open up to it. I think that's what's so fun about meditation is it allows us to not have limitations, right? We're so limited in this body, and it's natural, you know. Like I think it would be a lot more chaos if we had complete freedom of all the things that we can do in this world. So to be able to have an outside place of like a physical body and just like confined to this world, and then an internal place where we can kind of let loose and go free is a really nice contrast that I feel of an experience of what it means to be in existence. Like for me, I really feel like dreams are an extension of what your purpose is as an existence. So you have this kind of dream and this reality of paying taxes and going to work and saving up and wanting to live out a passion, getting a business, and then traveling, and then building up all this excitement, and then going to bed, and then all of a sudden you have a whole other existence. You're traveling to other planets, you're like whatever, right? Like going to places and seeing things that you've never seen before. To me, I think it's just as real because you have a memory of it, right? If you didn't have a memory of it, it wouldn't be real. So what are things that you don't have a memory of? You don't know. So how can you have a frame of reference? So then it doesn't exist.
But the memory slips away really fast in dreams.
Yeah.
That's a human experience.
Yeah.
Oh, you're waking experience.
Yeah, exactly. So I find it's neat to think of having a purpose in these two different ways, right? Like having a purpose as this identity, and then you go into a dream and you start thinking, oh, what's my purpose in this dream? You know, like whatever like the dream I had last night, like fighting this like massive muscular dude with like two friends, and we turned into Dragon Ball Z characters, and we're like flying through the air and then like dropping down, and then it's like, what was the purpose of that dream? I don't know. and so I think that's telling us that it's up to us to put the meaning to it. Just like in this world. It's actually up to us to put meaning into it. So leave that at that. You can think about it, and we can go on to the next part. So again, come into a comfortable position, however you are, just allowing yourself to be as comfortable as possible.
Can we lay down?
Yeah, if you like to, go for it. Your eyes closed. Come back to that breathing technique. This time, we'll count down from 9. So it'll be a little bit shorter, just as potent. Again, on your inhale, you say to yourself, I'm aware that I'm inhaling. On the exhale, I'm aware that I'm exhaling. 9. Inhaling, I'm aware that I'm exhaling. 8. Continue on until you reach 0. Wherever you are, relaxing the breathing, coming back to a regular breath. Just bringing awareness to an increased level of focus in the area of the forehead, yet relaxation and calmness. You're bringing attention to the level of the eyes. Appearing as the natural darkness behind the eyelids. I'd like you to imagine again that you have a second pair of eyelids. And gently closing these eyelids. Internally feeling them become heavier and heavier. With every exhale, they become heavier and heavier. Bringing your attention to the level of the eyes as you are gazing outwards from this place, peering into the darkness of the mind. Taking a nice deep inhale, and with the exhale, lowering the gaze to the level of the mouth. Feeling as if you are peering out from the level of the mouth. Feeling moisture inside of it. Feeling the texture of the tongue, texture of the palate, and the teeth. Nice deep inhale, and exhale, lowering your gaze down to the level of the throat. Bring your awareness to perceive that you are gazing outwards from the level of the throat, where you can briefly look up as if you were looking up towards the top of your crown, knowing that you are grounded and leveled at the level of the throat. Feeling the movement of air through the esophagus. Now taking one final inhale, and with an exhale, lowering your gaze down to the level of the heart. Feeling the beat of the heart, even hearing the beat of the heart at this level. As you inhale, feeling the lungs hug the heart. And as you exhale, feeling the lungs create space for the heart to open. As you are settled in the level of the heart, again in front of you, a screen opens up, starts to expand around you as you find yourself entering into your cave. Now the cave is fully immersed around you, like you take a look down at your feet, see what your feet look like, what your legs look like, take a look at your arms, your torso. As you're looking down at your torso, even inhaling, seeing your chest expand, as you exhale, seeing it relax. Around the cave. What do the walls look like? What does the ceiling look like? Are there any objects around you? And as you look ahead of you, you notice again the door suddenly appear on the wall across from you. Just taking the time to observe its texture, color, shape, and size. As you were looking at the door, the six-pointed star, the circle around it, appears. What you notice is even just looking at it does not open the door. There's something that you'll have to say and feel. So when you look at the symbol, internally, I would like you to say into the symbol, self-love opens this door. And to feel what self-love means to you. I would like you to say it 2 more times. Self-love opens this door. Feel the self-love. Self-love opens this door. As you feel that self-love the 3rd time, you notice a a white light appear around the edges of the door. And that white light starts to grow, and it dissolves the door to unveil an opening for you to walk through. Now, just as you conjured that feeling of excitement and the pull to go through the door earlier, allowing yourself to fully immerse your being into this white light and into this new space. It's giving yourself the time, the freedom to fully explore this new world that you have entered into. Knowing each moment now is fully guided by the depth, the connection with your heart, and Anahata Chakra. Now I'd like you to bring your attention again to your heart, your center. And as you feel yourself pull your attention into that center, the space around you is filled and transformed into white light. You find yourself completely submerged, completely surrounded by this room of white light. What I would like you to do now is begin to look upwards and notice that above you is that six-pointed star with the circle around it. And what you feel is that the star is pulling you upwards. You feel yourself being drawn to the center of the star. As you move closer and closer towards it, you feel yourself merging into it. And what you'll find as you fully immerse yourself in the center of the star, that you come out of it on the other side, a future version of yourself. You notice that there's an entire reality around you. And I'd like you to take a moment and you fully emerge as your future self, to take a look around. What sounds are there? What is the scenery? What are you wearing? What do you look like? What do you feel like? And what do you know? Tapping into even your age and what sense of self that you have. I'd like you to start walking around this place as your future self. As you continue exploring this space, on your left, I want you to notice a mirror. And as you pass by this mirror, and you look at yourself, you notice that it is your current past self. That the one sitting in the room meditating is the one that you see. And I want you to feel and know that you are with each other. What I would like you to do is to express to your past self any kind of wisdom, any kind of knowledge that you'd like to depart in helping yourself move into who you are in the future, who you are right now. So here, connecting into the heart, really feeling the care and the compassion for yourself, and expressing this truth, expressing this wisdom. Finished expressing your inner truth and wisdom to yourself, I'd like you to gaze into your own eyes in this mirror. And what you notice is you start being drawn into the pupils. Feel yourself being guided deeper and deeper into your eyes until you feel that the darkness within the pupil overtakes everything around you, and you find yourself back in your cave. Find yourself this new excitement, this new wisdom, and this knowledge that you gain from yourself from the future. And take a look around the cave. Just notice if there's anything different, any transformations have occurred even within that space. What are the walls like? What's the ceiling like? What are the objects like? Even the door, does the door look differently? Just knowing that you have this harmonious sense within your heart, within your center. Stepping back as you watch the caves start to become smaller and smaller and return back into that little screen as the darkness within the mind starts to grow, and all you see is that darkness within your heart. The warmth and the safety of that closeness. feeling still there all that you went throughout this meditation, knowing deeply and fully how you can connect with your heart and Anahata. Now taking an inhale, drawing your attention and focus to the level of the throat. Resting here for a moment. With your next inhale, drawing your focus to the level of the eyes as you start to bring yourself back to your body. Now bringing your focus to your inner eyelids as you slowly start to open them, allowing light to shine in through your physical eyelids. And then with your next inhale, come back fully to your body, opening your eyes, gently coming back fully. Take this time to do a little bit of writing. And then afterwards, if you are in a group, you can move into a group. If you are just by yourself watching this, you can just finish with the writing and just contemplate what you've gone through. So, yeah, thank you everyone for coming. I actually did not expect this many people to come because I didn't do any like advertising for it at all, like on Facebook or anything. I was like, I didn't see how that would work, so I just trusted that people would see the program and there would just be interested naturally. So it's really fills my heart a lot that there's such a great group who come out and support what I'm doing. This is just an amazing passion of mine. I really like giving in this way. I feel it's just so natural to understand these things, and having the opportunity to share it means a lot. So yeah, I really hope you guys were able to take out of it as much as I do, because yeah, it's really great. So there's a whole other world on the other side of that camera, and so I want you guys to come and say hi to everyone who's going to be watching, to prove that I'm not a loner and I didn't do this by myself. Yeah!
Where's home?
Home is Edmonton, Alberta.
Hi,
And,
Alberta.
oh, look what I've done! Oh, yeah! So, thank you all.
Thank you.
This is great. And I'll see you guys later.
Bye.